Hi, everybody. Okay. Well, we're going to finish Edward Tulane today. It's the last two chapters, and we're going to start with chapter 26, and it ends in chapter 27. So I bet you're excited to see what the ending could be on his miraculous journey. And so far, we've watched Edward go through a lot of different owners, and he has learned some life lessons along the way. He's learned how to love finally, and Pellegrina might be happy about that. And so let's find out what happens to him. Remember where we left off last? He was in the doll shop at Lucius Clark's doll shop, and kind of was next to a kind of a nasty little green dressed doll. She wasn't very nice to him, and so he kind of gave up hope. Remember the last, I'll reread the last paragraph or two of the last chapter. So last chapter 25, we ended off with this. Edward was the lone contrarian, and he prided himself on not hoping, on not allowing his heart to lift inside of him. He prided himself on keeping his heart silent, immobile, and closed tight. That sure tells us that he has turned off his heart. He's given up on hope now. He's always having to leave people he's learning to love. What's the point, he's thinking, right? I am done with hope, thought Edward Tulane. And then one day at dusk, right before he closed the shop, Lucius Clark placed another doll on the shelf next to Edward. Well, let's see. What does that doll look like for chapter 27? Oh, chapter 26, sorry. There's Edward in his finery. He looks great again. Bet he likes how he looks. And there's a nice doll sitting next to him. Well, let's find out. Okay. Chapter 26. There you are, milady. Meet the rabbit doll, said Lucius. And the doll mender walked away and turning out the lights one by one. In the gloom of the shop, Edward could see that the doll's head, like his, had been broken and repaired. Her face was, in fact, a web of cracks. She was wearing a baby bonnet. Well, let's go back and look at that picture again. Now that you know, can you see her face is all cracked and it's been mended and fixed? If you can see that on there. I can see it here. She's all put back together. How do you do? She said in a high, thin voice. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Hello, said Edward. How long have you been here? She asked. Months and months, said Edward, but I don't care. One place is the same as another to me. Oh, not for me, said the doll. I have lived 100 years, and in that time I have been in places that were heavenly and others that were horrid. After a time, you learn that each place is different, and you become a different doll in each place too. Quite different. 100 years, said Edward. I am old. The doll mender confirmed this. He said he was mending me that I am at least 100 years old. Edward thought about everything that had happened to him in his short life. What kind of adventures would you have if you were in the world for a century? The old doll said, I wonder who will come for me this time. Someone will come. Someone always comes. Who will it be? I don't care if anyone comes for me, said Edward. But that's dreadful, said the old doll. There's no point in going on if you feel that way. No point at all. You must be filled with expectancy. You must be awash in hope. You must wonder who will love you, whom you will love next. I am done with being loved, Edward told her. I'm done with loving. It's too painful. Pish, said the old doll. Where is your courage? Somewhere else, I guess, said Edward. You disappoint me, she said. You disappoint me greatly. If you have no intention of loving or being loved, then the whole journey is pointless. You might as well leap from this shelf right now and let yourself shatter into a million pieces. Get it over with. Get it all over with now. I would leap if I was able, said Edward. Shall I push you? Said the old doll. No, thank you, Edward said to her. Not that you could, he muttered to himself. What's that? Oh, nothing, said Edward. The dark in the doll shop was now complete. The old doll and Edward sat on their shelf and stared straight ahead. You disappoint me, said the old doll. Her words made Edward think of Pellegrina, of warthogs and princesses, of listening and love, of spells and curses. What if there was somebody waiting to love him? What if there was somebody whom he would love again? Was it possible? Edward felt his heart stir. No, he told his heart, not possible, not possible. In the morning, Lucius Clark came and unlocked the shop. Good morning, my darlings, he called out to them. Good morning, my lovelies. And he pulled up the shades on the windows. He turned on the light over his tools, and he switched the sign on the door to open. The first customer was a little girl with her father. Are you looking for something special? Lucius Clark said to them. Yes, said the girl, I am looking for a friend. Her father put her on his shoulders, and they walked slowly around the shop. The girl studied each doll carefully, and she looked Edward right in the eyes, and she nodded at him. Have you decided, Natalie? Her father asked. Yes, she said, I want the one in the baby bonnet. Oh, said Lucius Clark, you know that she is very old. She is an antique. She needs me, said Natalie firmly. Next to Edward, the old doll let out a sigh, and she seemed to sit up straighter, and Lucius came and took her off the shelf and handed her to Natalie. And when they left, when the girl's father opened the door for his daughter and the old doll, a bright shaft of early morning light came flooding in, and Edward heard quite clearly, as if she were still sitting next to him, the old doll's voice. Open your heart, she said gently. Someone will come for you, but first you must open your heart. The door closed. The sunlight disappeared. Someone will come. Edward's heart stirred, and he thought for the first time in a long time of the house on Egypt Street and of Abilene winding his watch and then bending toward him and placing it on his left leg, saying, I will come home to you. No, no, he told himself, don't believe it. Don't let yourself believe it. But it was too late. Someone will come for you. The China rabbit's heart had begun again to open. And here's the picture on that page of Edward sitting by himself on the shelf with the doll gone beside him. His heart opened up again. That nice little old doll kind of talked to him about being prepared to love again, and someone will come. That was the end of that chapter, by the way. This is chapter 27, the final chapter. Here we are. Look at that picture. Oh, I wonder what that's about. What do you notice? The door is open. I see an umbrella. I see a lady. Looks like a lady there. She's got a rain jacket. Well, let's find out what's happening. What do you think's going to happen before I start? What do you predict? There's lots of things that could happen, and we know now we're at the end of the book, the last chapter. So that means the author is going to close the story now. So how do you think it's going to close? Edward's on the shelf all alone in a doll shop. Let's find out. I'm excited. Let's find out. Well, seasons passed, fall and winter, and spring and summer. Leaves blew in through the open door of Lucius Clark's shop, and rain, and the green, outrageous, hopeful light of spring. People came and went, grandmothers and doll collectors and little girls with their mothers. Edward Tulane waited. The seasons turned into years. Edward Tulane waited. He repeated the old doll's words over and over until they wore a smooth groove of hope in his brain. Someone will come for you. And the old doll was right. Someone did come. It was springtime. It was raining, and there were dogwood blossoms on the floor of Lucius Clark's shop. She was a small girl, maybe 5 years old, and while her mother struggled to close a blue umbrella, the little girl walked around the store, stopping and staring solemnly at each doll and then moving on. When she came to Edward, she stood in front of him for what seemed a long time. She looked at him, and he looked back at her. Someone will come, Edward thought. Someone will come for me. The girl smiled, and then she stood on her tiptoes and took Edward off the shelf. She cradled him in her arms. She held him in the same ferocious, tender way Sarah Ruth had held him. Oh, thought Edward, I remember this. Madam, said Lucius Clark, could you please attend to your daughter? She is holding a very fragile, very precious, quite expensive doll. Maggie, said the woman, and she looked up from the still open umbrella. What have you got? A rabbit, said Maggie. A what? Said the mother. A rabbit, said Maggie again. I want him. Remember, we're not buying anything today. We're only looking, said the woman. Madam, said Lucius Clark, please. The woman came and stood over Maggie, and she looked down at Edward. The rabbit felt dizzy. He wondered for a minute if his head had cracked open again, if he was dreaming. Look, Mama, said Maggie, look at him. I see him, said the woman. She dropped the umbrella. She put her hand on the locket that hung around her neck. And Edward saw then that it was not a locket at all. It was a watch, a pocket watch. It was his watch. Edward? Said Abilene. Yes, said Edward. Edward, she said again, certain this time. Yes, said Edward. Yes, 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 it's me. And that's the end of the story. Oh, I have goosebumps. I don't know about you. Every year I read this, I'm so excited that Edward is reunited with Maggie's mom, who is Abilene. Yes, because remember in this chapter it said seasons passed, then years passed, many, many years. So now Abilene was a mom herself, and she had a little girl, Maggie, about her age when she'd lost Edward. That's a pretty exciting journey Edward went on. Wow, that's fabulous. And if we were in class, we would be talking lots about it. Lots of us would be happy about that, and we'd be predicting. So that's the end of our fabulous journey of Edward Tulane, where he did learn about an important life event. And I'll have some questions ready for you to think about and answer. Pretty exciting. So I know we enjoyed that. And it's always sad when we finish because we get to learn how to love Edward and love the people that he comes in contact with. And now it's finished. And I've always thought this would be a great movie to make. How about that? We should make a movie. I'd hire all of you to be in it. So that would be lots of fun one day. And so there we are, the ending of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. So I hope you enjoyed that, boys and girls. This is a book available at all bookstores if you want to buy that again and keep reading it over the summer, or maybe read it to an older sibling or a younger sibling, or your parents out loud too. I know some of them have been watching our YouTube video on it, but go ahead and you can buy this book and reread it. It's always fun to reread books. I often reread books from my childhood too. It's always fun to revisit that. And sometimes you get to see something new. You experience a new emotion, or you learn something new about one of the characters. So please do that as well. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Goodbye to Edward Tulane for now, and we will see you later. Bye.